Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel Dykheist and I am going to go over my October reads with you. I feel like this month's books can be very easily divided into a meh category, okay, and good to great. And like the okay is like okay to good. So like, yeah, there were some good ones. To start with, this is a book that I DNF'd. Did not finish. I've probably only not finished like 10 books in my whole life. I'm trying to give myself more permission to not finish books there's so many books in the world and I just don't need to slog through books that are not going to add anything to my life, that are not like required reading for some reason. So When Women Were Dragons by Kelly Barnhill, I picked this book up because I've read her book, The Girl Who Drank the Moon, which is like a middle grade, like very like young readers kind of book. That's like so beautiful, so magical. So I thought this one was going to be good. It's like very feminist. I did not like how it was written. So I got like 100 pages in and there was still like 300 more to go. And I was filled with despair and decided that I need to just put it down because the thought of finishing it felt so awful. So there you go. A DNF. So I guess I don't recommend that. Unless somebody can tell me that they finished it and it's like so amazing. I will probably just be getting rid of my copy of it. And then I guess, so Point of Retreat by Colleen Hoover. I hate this book. Slammed is the first one. This one is, I would say this one's good. The follow-up, bad. I don't want to give away the premise. It's based on poetry. Yeah, I feel like if I give the premise away, that is a lot of the story. So this one was like fast moving. I didn't love it. It's a little bit problematic, but it read really quickly. So I think I gave it four stars maybe. This one I gave 2 or 3 just because, oh man, I feel like it lost the magic of the poetry. Like maybe there was 1 or 2 poems, but it just wasn't good. And the characters were so much more problematic and unbelievable in this one. So I've decided to stop reading Colleen Hoover's backlog and only read her new books because the ones that I have read have been rough, especially this month. So one of the other ones that I listened to was Losing Cinderella. And I do not feel very organized today. So Losing Cinderella is the follow-up to Losing Hope. Finding Cinderella, I think, is like a novella in the series, which I will not be reading. Hopeless, I think I gave it 4 stars because, again, it was good. I liked it, but it was problematic. Losing Hope, like the same story told from a different perspective, which I hate. I just hate. Like, you do not need to write the same book twice. Unless it's like an amazing different perspective, okay? And now we've seen this with so many other authors, and maybe she was one of the first to do it. I don't know, but I did not like this. When you read the same problematic story from a different perspective and there's nothing new in it, yikes. So, please hold me to this. I am going to try to only read new Colleen Hoover. All right, let's go on with more meh books, shall we? So, 1,000 Heartbeats by Kiera Cass. This is one that okay. 2 rulers. One is going to be trapped in a marriage. The other thinks his land was stolen by her. They fall in love. I don't know. I don't know if I'm just like too cynical for YA now or what, but Kiera Cass wrote The Selection, which is kind of like The Bachelor, The Bachelorette set in like the future of America when it's like more dystopian. They're YA, they have their problems. They're not the most amazing book, but look, they are entertaining. This book was also entertaining, but I just like didn't love anybody in there. There was some intrigue to keep you going, but not what I was looking for. So I'm pretty sure I gave that one 3 stars. It felt like slogging through some of these books. I read so many 3 stars in a row. So then I got very excited when I read a random 5-star book. All right. Another just so disappointing. This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. I love V.E. Schwab. I love her creepy adult books. Like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue and A Darker Shade of Magic. So this is, again, a backlog. So this is a YA. The premise just seems like, okay, so there's humans and then there's monsters. And so our main characters, they're of course sons of the ruler of the monsters and the ruler of the humans. Who's right, who's not right? They're each like suppressing each other. Our main character plays the violin and steals souls. I just didn't love the premise, and I honestly feel like Marissa Meyer has done this better with what are they called? It's the superhero one. It's like arch enemies and so they're like the superhero one. So I feel like it's already been done. It's been done better. This was an actual snooze fest. I almost DNF'd this one as well, but because it's an audiobook, I could kind of put it on and not pay super close attention to it while I was doing errands. So again, maybe I just need to stop reading backlogs of the authors that I love, right? Okay. This Is How I Lied. So, like, we're headed up here. So Heather Gutenkopf, I do love her. I'm not sure when this was published. I feel like it's a little bit of a backlog. There were a lot of characters I was a little bit confused about what was happening, but it did come together well. It was a good thriller. So our main character is a cop who her best friend was murdered like 15 years ago. And so now there's new evidence and she's got to like deal with all these people, all these suspects. I feel like she did a good job. Heather did a good job of like keeping you guessing. Like I did not know who it was going to be. There were honestly like a lot of bad characters that it could have been and I would have been fine with. The one reason I wouldn't have given this 5 stars is because I really didn't like the main character. She's a liar. This is her. So I feel like because of that, it's just not my favorite of hers. I don't like to not like the main character. Like I feel like I need to root for the main character. And then I read the book Cultish, The Language of Fanaticism. So it talks about lots of different cults throughout time. It talks about Swifties. I think it talks about Swifties. It talks a lot about like workout cults. It talks about Amway, which is super fun. When the like celebrities in your town are called out for being cultish. So basically said like cults are not innately bad, but every cult has a language. And so I do feel like as a Swiftie, so we probably are a cult, which is great. I feel like we're a cult for good. And then I also feel like Disney adults could probably be a cult as well. There's a language for that. There's secret words. But yeah, it's just kind of scary how, like it talks about Scientology and like Jamestown. So this was an entertaining book. I felt like at the end it didn't like tie up super easily, which is why I didn't make it a 5 star. And to go with my October vibes, The Death of Jane Lawrence. This has been on my list for a while. Our main character gets married. She kind of propositions a doctor. And so they get married, but he says that she can absolutely never stay at his estate. So she has to stay at the clinic. And then, of course, the first night that they're married, something happens, so she has to stay at the house. She starts learning his secrets. It's creepy. There's like magic and like healthcare and gore. I did really like this. I thought at the end they got a little bit confused. Like it was a little confusing. Like there were a lot of elements and it was never really clear what was happening. So I believe that I gave this 3 stars just because it was very kind of all over the place at the end. So I really can't tell you, like, I think the main character died at the end, but it was confusing. There were like lots of ghosts and lots of things happening. I read the second book in the Madison Kate series, Liar. This is a very smutty book. This is very spicy. If you haven't read spicy romance before, I would not recommend starting with this series. This is reverse harem. So our main character is with multiple men. And it is spicy. It's entertaining, but it's very spicy. So, warning. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say about that. Spicy. Caliente. Muy caliente. Then I read, just to finish up the audiobooks, I read One of Us is Back. So, one of us is lying. One of us, I forget what the second one is. One of us is lying. One of us is something. One of us is back. So this is the third. The first 2 kind of happen like back to back. This is a few years later. So I really like this series. I like really anything that Karen McManus writes. It's YA, which makes it like they move faster. The characters are, I don't know. I like the characters. I like how she writes. I like how fast paced it is. So I was happy to see this one. I waited for a long time for the audiobook to become available, and I don't feel like it disappointed. It was kind of the same vibe, genre, like thriller mystery. Don't know who's killing again. Yeah. All right, I think, oh no. Okay, so then The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. This was a book of the month I think it was a book of the month that I didn't choose, so then I added it on later. So the main character is a man who, his wife is like very secretive. So they go back to her like family estate and he like learns about where she's from. It's like a gothic fairy tale kind of. I don't feel like I can tell you that much more about it. It's kind of creepy. Like it was good October vibes. Yeah, I feel like everything by Roshani Chakshi, I like it, but it's not amazing. Like there's just something missing and I don't know why. Perhaps because you don't like the main character, or you don't like the woman. Like you can tell that she's lying about something. And I don't really love the man either, I guess. I also didn't know it was a man for a really long time. So that was weird. I was like, oh, is this like sapphic? No, it was a man. It just the way they wrote it. I don't know. I just wasn't sure. I thought the main character was a woman. And then she started dating a woman. And it was like, it's a man. Okay. So that's weird. Like, I feel like if you can't even tell what the character's gender is, it's weird. All right. The Intern by Michelle Campbell. This is a September 2023 book of the month. This one, I feel like because I started it and then I worked a bunch of shifts in a row, it was just kind of like interrupted. So it took me longer to read it. This was a good story. When I did sit down to read it, I think I read like 200 pages at a time. It's good. It's kind of predictable. There's a lot of characters and it's very like ambiguous. Like no one's really a good character. So you're kind of on nobody's side, but everybody's side. So yeah, our main character, the intern, is her brother is maybe being framed for drugs, and her new boss is a judge that she has like worshipped her whole life, who is maybe a dirty judge and tied up in this. So that's the premise, and it was interesting. I liked it. I reread Killers of the Flower Moon with the Sharon Cecil Book Club because I read this a few years ago, I believe, and I liked it, but I knew that the movie was coming out and I wanted to reread it, and I also wanted to read it for the book discussions because I didn't really remember it, and I wanted to read it before our author meetup. So the Sharon Cecil Book Club, we read a book and then we actually do a Zoom meeting with the author, which is really cool. So this was when I really wanted to participate because in the past I've read books before and then it's just not fresh in my mind when we do the author meetup. So it's kind of hard to enjoy the Zoom call as much. So yeah, I reread this one. It is like kind of drier than I remembered, which part of it is that I knew what happened already. So this reads very historically. My parents have seen the movie and they said it was really good. It's just like 3 hours and 30 minutes or something. So I will probably wait until it's streaming on something and watch it. But obviously it's very different. This is like factual, focusing more on the FBI. The Killers of the Flower Moon movie is more of a story and more focused on the Osage people and Molly, who's the main character, and told more as a story, where this is more like a listing of information because it's a nonfiction. But yeah, this is a good book. I recommend it if you want to learn about really rich Native Americans and how we stepped all over their rights and took their money away from them and murdered them. Not me personally, but it sounds like almost everyone in the town was complicit in murdering them. Super proud American. All right, so my last audiobook, I think it was my last one. I read The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren. I never know what these books are going to be about when they become available. I just know that I like Christina Lauren. So this has been on hold for a long time. I believe this is their newest. They might have one that's coming out soon, but this is the most recent published. I did not realize that this was in the same universe as the Soulmate Equation, which I loved. So the Soulmate Equation is that there is DNA that you can get matched by your DNA for like your true love. So the premise of Soulmate Equation is that these people are like a high match, they fall in love, etc. This is the same universe where that DNA is being used for a reality show. And it's just entertaining. So I would watch this reality show if it was real life. I liked the main characters. I have to say that I did not like the accents. So that was the one bummer. And like there was a male and a female narrator, but like the way that they read the opposite gender just kind of got under my skin a little bit. So that was the only thing I didn't like. I think if I read this, I feel like I really probably should just read romance because first of all, listening to smut is a little iffy. I actually don't mind it in like the Madison Kate stories. So I don't know why I don't mind that as much. But it's a little bit iffy. And then like they have like a British accent that I did not like. So, and normally I like accents. There was just something about it it felt very offensive to me. So I gave it 4 stars. Maybe 1 star off for accents, etc. And then physical books that were good to great. I have You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. So this is one, I forget who recommended this. I think some like YouTubers had recommended this. This is a YA. It was like a short, like one sitting read, but it was like such good Halloween vibes. So the premise of this book is that our main character, I want to say that her name is Charity. She works at a camp. So it's like this summer camp that's like a horror. So people pay to come and basically be part of this like staged murder, not mystery, but like horror film, basically. So at the end of the night, like everyone's been murdered. And then people start actually getting murdered. So I liked the premise of this. It was very good. It read really well. So I think there's going to be another one. But I recommend this if you just want like a short, scary horror. And it was like 200 pages, but like big words. So yeah, that was a delight. I think I might have given it 5 stars because it was kind of perfect for what it was. My last book of this month was Starter Villain by Jen Scalzi. This was recommended by Jamie B. Golden from the podcast. There are intelligent cats and dolphins in this. So the main character's uncle dies and he inherits his villain business. Yep. It is a short book. So I read it in just a few sittings. It's like 230 pages. It is entertaining. The cats and the dolphins were my favorite. And it was just like quick and concise and just humorous. The best book that I can compare it to would be Nothing to See Here, just because it's like absolutely ridiculous, but entertaining. Like you just kind of are like, yeah, cats can talk, and you just go with it. I wouldn't say, like, Nothing to See Here is like one of my favorite books, so it's like 5 stars. I would give this 4 stars. The humor is a little bit drier than I would have liked, but cats in suits, man. And they're not actually in suits in the book, but it is a great cover. I feel like it gets the point across. I was recommended, again, by Jamie B. Golden, to read Divine Rivals if you finished Fourth Wing and you wanted something else to read while you waited for Iron and Flame to come out. So my sister read Divine Rivals first because she was jonesing for something good. And she loved it. So I then read it. The premise of this book, I don't know what I was expecting. It was not this. Sometimes when I pick up a book and I know nothing about it, it is a bit of a disservice. So I will tell you that this book, it has like World War I vibes because it's like trench warfare, but the people who are fighting are gods. And our main characters are writers, like war correspondents. There's a magical typewriter. But for the most part, there's not very much magic in this, which is why it's super interesting. Our main characters have magical typewriters, and they are nemesis. And then there's gods that make people fight for them. But there's not a lot of other magic, so it's very interesting. I did give this 5 stars. It ends on a cliffhanger. I think the next book comes out in November, December. I have already pre-ordered it. So I do recommend this. Like, still like different vibes in Fourth Wing, but like if you like fantasy, this is a good one. I wouldn't say like it's exactly comparable to Fourth Wing, but while you're waiting. Also, Iron and Flame comes out this month. So exciting. Like soon. Like next week. If I'm right. I'm pretty sure it's November 8th. So exciting. Okay. And my last, I think this is probably my favorite book of the month, was You Again. So, book of the month and book that I read in October. So, You Again by Kate Goldbeck. This book is like Harry Met Sally in the 2020s. The way that it's written, like the main characters are both lovable. They're ridiculous. They're just seem like real characters, and they keep meeting and hating each other, which is delightful. So it's like 2014, and then there's a chapter, and then it says 2 years later, and there's a chapter. And so they keep meeting each other and then like hating each other. And it's like really short, and then it gets to like the time that they like start to build a relationship. But it's just it was so good. Like, it was good. It was spicy. The main characters are funny. it felt very fall in New York. So like same, like You've Got Mail, Harry Met Sally vibes. Like this was such a good fall read. So you can save it for next fall if you'd like, but I just really recommend this one. I gave it 5 stars. It's kind of a hefty romance, but I read it so quickly. Like I read it at work. I was in triage. I wasn't ignoring patients, but I think I read like 200 plus pages just sitting there while like interacting with other people occasionally, just because it like kept my attention that well. Normally I cannot focus to read that much at work. Yeah. So just a lot of meh and then some good. So yeah, I am currently trying to do a 24-hour reading challenge because I have a few days off and I'm doing a social media fast this month, so no Instagram scrolling for me. So I'm planning to read a lot of books. And the 24 hours, like I'm not reading 24 hours straight. I'm just like setting timers so that I know exactly how much I'm reading. I'm going to see how much I can read in 24 hours. So far, yeah, I'm a fast reader. 24 hours is going to be a lot. And just a sneak peek for next time. I just finished this. And I just watched like all of her music videos because I love Britney so much. She's #crazy, but I love her. Yeah, so November's gonna be a great reading month because so many new releases that are coming are by my favorite authors, and I think I'm gonna read a lot. And I've read 160 books, I think, this year, so I'm just gonna see, just for funsies, if I can get to 200 by the end of the year. I think that I probably could. And I feel like now that it's like close enough, now I feel like I have to. So stay tuned for that.